Thanks for staying with us this morning. We're at the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan. We're joined by Lucas Haag, who is the Kansas State Northwest Research Center Extension Agent. I believe I got that right. That's a big title. So Lucas, thanks for joining us this morning. They say wheat dies 9 times throughout the year. It may have held true this year.
Yeah, we certainly put it through its paces. Even though we had a really tremendous start, I mean, we had some of the best stands conditions to drill into, and good stands that we'd had in a long time this fall. But a lot of that really changed there in mid-November, 9th, 10th, 11th November. It was really that Arctic blast that came through really changed the tone and our yield prospects out of this crop. And so that's something we've seen, especially so in my territory, northwest, north central Kansas. We had significant winter injury across that entire territory. And as we move more towards western Kansas, it was much more related to the stands were just evenly thinned by that event, as opposed to more in the eastern end of my territory, much more management related. Wheat after soybeans took it particularly hard. Wheat that was planted shallow or in loose seed bed conditions took it particularly hard. But the underlying event that really drove this was, we had almost too good of conditions last fall. We were too warm, and so it takes time to harden off wheat, to harden off the crowns in those plants. And for that to happen, we really have to have the crown temperature below about that 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And ideally, we got to be down around that 40 degrees to actually have much of that process. We accumulate solutes or sugars in the crown, and that's what, it's kind of like adding glycol to water to antifreeze, and we lower the freezing point in that crown. We just didn't have the cool temperatures we needed to start that process. And so when that Arctic blast came through there in mid-November, essentially our wheat had not been hardened off at all, and that's why we've seen the thinning of the stands that we did. So immediately at that point, we'd already kind of capped some of our yield potential then.
Dividing line in the state, I know there are parts of the state that we've got great yields. We're hearing numbers now coming in 70 bushels. Parts of it we may see 10 bushels. Was there kind of a dividing line on that? Yeah,
and it's always hard to draw solid lines, but certainly north central Kansas, Smith, Jewell, Mitchell counties in through there is much more management related, rotation related. We still seen winter injury in Russell County. By the time we was down into southern Ellsworth County, into Barton County, a lot less winter injury there. Cheyenne, Rawlins, Decatur, northwest Kansas was hit particularly hard by winter injury.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to finish up. We're going to talk about, well, we're only about 2.5 months away from making the decision again this year on what you're going to put in the ground. You're watching Kansas Ag Report. See you in just a minute.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Farmers Insurance, your best protection against the unexpected. Call Agent Dan Key at 785-408-5459. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. GrassandGrain.com. Blue River Traders, the finest selection of Western-style furniture for your home. BlueRiverTraders.com.
We're joined by Lucas Haag today, and we're at the Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan, Kansas. We're talking about winter hardiness of wheat. And Lucas, in the first segment, we were talking about things look bright last fall. We thought we were going to have a great crop, and then we got the Arctic blast. We are literally 2.5 months away from putting that crop back in the ground. What should producers be thinking about?
So I'm really cautioning producers from putting too much weight into what happened this past year. It's really an odd event that we would have that type of that Arctic blast come through without having that wheat hardened off. And so we had a lot of questions about why did our ratings for winter hardiness not line up with what we were seeing in the field. And it's because typically our winter hardiness is scored off of assuming the wheat's already hardened, how well does it tolerate an exceptionally cold winter or periods of warming up and cooling down. So that's a completely different type of event than what we experienced this year. So I caution folks from putting a lot of weight into that. I still think we need to look at overall factors for our wheat variety selection, drought tolerance. Do we have some natural resistance to stripe rust? Wheat streak mosaic was certainly a large issue in many areas this year in the state. So still, I think it's important we look at the whole package when making that decision.
And I know there are a lot of varieties coming out of K-State right now. what are some of the varieties that producers could be looking forward to coming up into the fall?
Sure. So Oakley and Canmark are two new releases out of K-State. Oakley CL done exceptionally well this year due to its wheat streak resistance and also held up really well under stripe rust pressure. Canmark I think is going to be an excellent fit for us in western Kansas, especially under irrigation. Other varieties that are doing well for us this year, Bird, WB Grainfield. Anyways, there's I can't get into listing them all, but
right.
there's lots of options out there, and that's what I've been telling producers is, if there's a variety you're a little bit uncomfortable with, dump it and get something new, because we've got as many good new varieties to choose from as we've had in a long time. TAM 111 has really dominated the acreage in western Kansas so far. We don't see it in that top grouping in the yield trials much anymore. I think it's time we start thinking about dialing back those acres and replacing it with some other material. Denali actually has TAM 111 in its pedigree and is a good fit for a potential replacement, very broadly adapted across West.
So, Lucas, thanks for joining us this morning.
You bet. Thank you.
You're watching Kansas Ag Report. We'll see you in just a minute.